We've been talking a lot about lower backs. Why would we be mobilizing the upper back? It actually makes a lot of sense when we talk about regional interdependence, which is a big fancy way of saying that our motion in our body often depends on other areas. If we can't extend through our thoracic spine, that motion has to happen somewhere else. Especially if we're having back pain, that is going to happen into our low backs, and that's just not always what we want. So with thoracic spines, what we are almost always concerned with, especially with modern life, is extension, and how we typically are missing it. And that's mostly because we spend a lot of time sitting, we spend a lot of time bent forward, and almost no time bent backwards. When we actually go in to try and mobilize extension, we almost always have to couple it with rotation, and that's because that's just how the joints in the thoracic spine are laid out. In order to get extension, we also have to deal with rotation. To start that, we're going to do an exercise called the open book. Andy here is going to lay on his side. I typically like to have knees up, and that is because it prevents as much lumbar spine motion as we can. Again, we're trying to work through thoracics, which is your middle back. From here, we go arm out, both hands together, yep, and then what I'm actually going to have him do is slide his top hand up the bottom hand, so like that one, and that pull motion helps us really get through a little more thoracic spine stuff. And then we hang out here for just a second or two, and then we come back and we do it again. Back. A few things that we can do to troubleshoot if we're having problems. Your knee position can change. If you start feeling this in your low back or like really low in your thoracic spine and we want to move it up higher, we can do more of a curl. So if he brings his legs up like knees to chest, that's going to lock out more spine, at least lower. And then when he goes and rotates, we're going to notice he can't go quite as far here. But that's because we've taken segments out of the motion and now we're really focused higher into the spine. Yep. One more. Good. Some people might also benefit from a pillow, something here. If your head is not comfortable, if you're feeling some strain in the neck, can make a difference too. After we have mobilized the spine, so we've gotten it moving in the way we want, we also want to work on controlling our end range. That really just means getting us all the way into as much extension as we can and trying to hold that. One of our favorite ways to do that is laying face down here. To start this, we have a couple of tools here. I'm going to put these under Andy's hands, and what he is going to do is get himself pressed up into as much extension as he can. And so through this piece of his spine, we want to be all the way back as far as he can possibly get. From here, he's going to try to maintain this position while he takes his hands and pushes them out in front of him. The goal of this is not to reach as far as possible. It is to unweight or to make your spine muscles have to actually contract and hold you into extension here. This is the first level of it. The next thing we can try to do is both at the same time. That gets much, much harder, but with something like a floor slider, we can decide how hard to push down into them. So if he pushes really, really hard into those floor sliders, it makes this exercise easier. He's using his arms instead of his back. If he gets rid of the floor sliders altogether, we can make this really hard, and he can have to reach and hold an extension with just the muscles in his spine.
That's hard.
That's really hard.
I feel extended.
So if we went back to the last time we did a cat-cow and we looked at what Andy's thoracic extension looked like, we can look again. So if he goes on his hands and knees, and we can see what it looks like before and after. So if he pushes all the way up here, what we shouldn't see is a whole big difference here. Like we're gonna get as much flexion as we probably got in the last one. But when we go down into extension through here, what we hope to get is a little less of a flat spot and a little more of a dip there. Thoracic spines, like what their actual extension looks like, we're never going to have a dip like we do in our lumbar spine, but we do want it to be better than what it was when we started.